the style that Owen wrestled in, if you watch it now, you're like, oh yeah, he's a pretty good wrestler. But in 1994, that dude was he was so ahead of his time. I almost think he was probably even born maybe a little too early with just the athleticism and the transitions and the counters that he was able to pull off, the flips, flipping when it's necessary, not just for flipping's sake. And it's really good to see him wrestling in this time period, which I really haven't done much of, and just how smooth he was and how good he was. Because I don't know if I've ever really been able to properly appreciate how good Owen was, but he really showed it in this match. And even Bret, you could say the same thing about Bret. I started watching after Bret was gone, and Bret was so good at the basics. I practice Muay Thai, and my coach said something to me one day. It's probably a very common saying, but it was the first time I heard it. It's better to be an expert at the basics than have a basic knowledge of expert tactics. And that applies to so many things, not only in sports and athletics, but in life as well, and especially in pro wrestling. And that's what Bret Hart was all about. He was an expert at the fundamentals and didn't worry about being flashy or, doing things to get cheap pops. He was really, really good at the fundamentals, which is the foundation that you need for a good match. And that's why he was able to have so many great matches, is because he was such a good, his name's the excellence of execution, but that's not just a thing to put on a t-shirt. That's what he was. Just simple stuff like that. Suplexes, snapmares, easy stuff, but he did it so well and it made it look so believable. And I think that's really where the genius of Bret Hart comes into play. I think that's why he doesn't really come up a lot as far as, when people bring up their favorite wrestlers ever or the best wrestler ever. I don't think Bret Hart really comes into that number one spot that often with people. But I think he was just so consistently